morning once again. My name is Mordecai Murisa, and thank you so much for keeping your eyes on NBS TV. Well, we had a very disturbing incident that happened recently at Macquarie University when the university, part of it actually went into flames, and you know, there were still more voices that are coming from different angles, criticism and complaints. And by the way, we were still complaining about that then in Entebbe, a petrol station happened, the same incident. So we're having a very timely conversation regarding many buildings or infrastructure that happen to go up into flames. And the most difficult thing that happens is sometimes these buildings or petrol stations are not insured. The question is, can there be an insurance against fire? That's the question we are going to be understanding this wonderful morning. In studio with me it is Obel Bernard from the Insurance Regulatory Authority of Uganda and Okong Peter, the Inspection Officer, Non-Life. So that's why we're going to be discussing. Of course, he comes from the Insurance Regulatory Authority of Uganda as well. That's why we're going to be focusing our conversation this wonderful morning. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Mordecai. Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure is mine. Let me start with you, Bernard. Is there any arrangement in insurance that takes care of fire in case there's such kind of a risk?
Yeah, we've got several arrangements. Mr. Mordecai, I don't know whether, according to what you presented, I think I cannot more than agree with you on that particular issue. When you look at Kampala at large, there's a lot of exposure that we have. When you drive through Entebbe Road, and you drive through Hoima Road, and you drive through Ginger Road, you'll see the spacing of these petrol stations. Sometime back, 20 years ago, somebody made an analysis and said, I think we might be sitting on a time bomb. Anything can happen anytime. But it's true, the industry has got classes of business that can address these risks. The first class that I wanted to share with you is fire standard. You know, when you light a matchbox, that fire which comes out, that's the one that we do insure under fire standard. And fire standard is a little bit, the rate, premium rate is a little bit lower than the one I'm going to talk about next. Now, the one I'm talking about next is the fire and special perils. It has the fire standard, which I've just mentioned, and then the special perils. Now, special perils, we are talking about flooding, we are talking about malicious damage, we are talking about riot, strike, and civil commotion, we are talking about aircraft damage. In case an aeroplane, for instance, passes over this building and then all of a sudden it falls and damages the building. That's not fire, but we consider it under special perils. In case there is a heavy flood that comes up and affects this building, that's considered still under special perils. The special perils of the fire and special perils, of course, go at a little bit higher rate, slightly higher because of the increased risks of exposure. Then we also have domestic package. Domestic package, of course, is just the same fire and special perils, but it has got some bit of burglary as well in it. For people of your class, people with the homes at home, you want to cover your sofa sets, your TV, your cameras, etc. You want to cover your building as well, you can have a domestic package. And then we also have contractors or risks, which my colleague is going to expound on shortly as we continue.
Yeah. Peter, let's talk about the structures. There could be my small business, and I'm thinking that I cannot insure it against fire. Which kind of structure is insured against fire?
Thank you very much. Okay. Actually, any structure can be insured, provided you have insurable interest. Okay, financial interest in it. In insurance, we call it insurable interest, but in a layman's language, it is financial interest. If the property, if it gets damaged, you lose some money out of it, like restating it or reconstructing it will cost you money, then you can insure it, be it grass thatch, be it the matagulas and all this. And these structures can be insured even from the beginning of the construction. When you are starting to construct your premises, you can take up a policy, which my colleague was talking about, the contractor's all risks. Contractors' all risks will protect you against accidental damage to the property which is under construction, and also goes ahead to protect you against the third-party liability. Now, there are different classes of insurance, as my colleague has told you, to protect these properties. Now, for the structure, today, since we are focusing only on the structure, there are various. he mentioned about domestic package. Domestic package will cover you against fire, against burglary. Now, it also goes ahead to cover you against theft. Like, it is split into 3 parts. We have the first part, which is covering you the property, the asset, the building. The other part covers the contents in the house. And the other part, the third part, covers the all risk, whereby the movable items. I can see you have your iPad, you have a very nice phone. You need insurance for it because you can move along the road and the thief just snatches your phone. What next? I'm sure that phone did cost you anything less than $1 million plus. So just imagine losing out $1 million, and yet if you had bought insurance, it would have costed you just probably the 150,000. So tell me, 150,000 vis-a-vis $1 million, which one is much easier? So insurance, we have different products to safeguard all these things, but the challenge we're having is people appreciating and knowing it.
Sure, I felt excited when you talked about my phone and, you know, how much I will have to pay in case it is just snatched from me by someone. Let's go deeper about the benefits that come with insuring against fire.
That's a very good question. Mr. Mordecai, I want to give you an example, to begin with an example. You've been working all your lifetime and you reach 60 years and NSSF pays you maybe you are 1 billion or 1.5 billion. You put up a structure, say like this one. And all of a sudden, in a twinkle of an eye, at midnight, fire strikes and the entire savings are wiped out in a twinkle of an eye. It is very painful. You've already reached 60 years. Getting gainful employment is becoming impossible, difficult.
I mean, your body is ready for retirement.
Absolutely, and you cannot rewind your life. And your entire efforts have been washed away.
In a blink of an eye.
In a blink of an eye. So this becomes very, very catastrophic. I mentioned at the beginning that we've got fire standard. Fire standard is relatively cheaper. It's 0.15% on average. And then fire and special perils can go at 0.25%, 0.23, something of that nature. So if your house is 1 billion shillings, and then you insure it at, say, 0.2%, that means you're paying 2 million shillings only. Now, when you divide 2 million by 12 months, that comes to around how much? Are you talking of 50,000? Around there. 50,000, 60,000, 70,000. So that's what you are required to set aside in a month to insure your house for a whole year. Now, if fire guts the entire building, and then out of the 2 million that you paid as premium, then you are paid 1 billion shillings. That's a big step. And of course, that is connected to the issue of having a peace of mind. Once you have that protection, you'll have peace of mind. You know that where I've reached, there is no going back. There's no retreat. I've got these savings, nothing can happen to my savings, whatever happens. There are no unforeseen risks that can disentangle my wealth. 2, insurance helps with the cash flow uncertainty. I give you the example of Makerere University. That building had never got any problems. I think I was told it's 75 years old. Now, for all the 74 years, nothing had happened. But the 75th year, something happened. And the building is estimated at 15 billion. Thank God it wasn't the entire structure. But of course, the loss might be maybe close to the range of 5 billion. Now, we don't know whether the funds are available. The funds may not be available because the funny bit about these risks is that you don't get notification. In terms of timing, you'll not know when it will happen. And you'll not set aside money to put the loss into, to make good the loss. So insurance helps you to manage your cash flow. You'll just be a phone call away from the insurance company, and it might take like 2 months or 3 months as they're carrying out the investigations, and you get your compensation. And straight you go. Thirdly, it also controls, enables risk control. Because as you take up insurance, they will require you to have, say, like fire extinguishers in place. They will require to have hose reels. They will require you to put in place mechanisms to reduce the risks that advice will be given to you. Now, when you put into place those mechanisms, the premium rates also go lower. Now, the other thing is the use of it even supports you when it comes to credit. You put up a structure like this, maybe you've retired at 60, and you want to open up a factory. Of course, you have to give comfort to the bankers that in case anything happens, you are safe. Now, insurance comes in to protect the building, and that enables you to access loans from the bank. It also, in general terms, provides a source of investment or funds. For instance, you get money, premium. That premium, of course, does not lie there idle. That premium is plowed back to the economy. Insurance companies invest in government securities, those fixed deposits which you see. And in one way or the other, they feed into infrastructural development. And all these loans you see coming out, of course, their insurance is contributing towards that. And then last but not least, it reduces the social burden. You retired, I gave an example of retiring at 60, you put up a structure, it's wiped out, and then you don't have a fallback position, and your children become destitute. So once insurance is in place, of course, the children will not be, the bazokolos will not become destitute. They'll have a starting point in life.
And you talk about a very important thing, unprecedented. When you look at Makere, that was established in 1922, it was actually about to celebrate 100 years. It's 98 years, and that happens. One thing that you wouldn't think would happen at that time. Well, one would be interested, to have an insurance to insure the buildings at somewhere, but one would want to know is when can a structure be insured against fire, more especially a building?
Okay, thank you very much. As I mentioned before, a structure can be insured from the point when you're beginning your construction up to the end. And after the construction, that is where now you decide which kind of insurance to take. If the property is going to be used maybe for business, like normal business, and you want to protect it against fire, you can take fire. As my colleague has explained, different classes of fire. You can take fire and special perils. If you're going to use this property for your own residence, then you can take domestic package, which protects you. It encompasses fire, burglary, and all these other risks. Then if the building is going to be used for commercial purposes, maybe industrial, then we have a different class of fire, and we talk of things like industrial all risk and all those. So the time to take insurance is from the point when you're beginning your construction. However, it is never late. Even after construction, you can take on insurance. Now, I'll give you an example. There those days when I just come to Kampala, there was a case in Nalia whereby that was the first time I experienced a building collapse. That building, Nalia, St. Peter's Nalia, around 1998 there. The building collapsed when it was still under construction, and it killed people. And you'll agree with me, the case has been rampant lately. So if the owners of the building had taken up insurance, contractors all risks, then they would not have suffered the loss. You imagine building your house, and when it is almost getting done, then the whole thing collapses. And at the end of the day, it's not only the building, but you have the liability. There are people who die in those structures when they're being constructed. You have to pay for them. Right? Now, you imagine at that time you've suffered loss, you've lost your properties, people are demanding you, they are suing you, they want you to compensate them for their loved one they have lost. So at the end of the day, you find that you are in a serious trouble. So the best way to do things, take up insurance and you'll be at peace.
If there's a war we need to get into, all of us, is the war against perception. There is a perception on a couple of things where Ugandans say, that's for rich people, I'll not participate into that, So the question is, have insurance companies considered putting in place different products of insurance against fire to take care of different classes of people regarding, in relation to their incomes? Or shall we keep the perception, with those people say, I cannot insure my ABC because I do not have enough money?
Yeah, before I can get into that, first of all, I really get concerned about the perception of people, because we cannot keep on doing the same things over and over and expect different results.
Absolutely.
You can't say, as it was in the beginning, it's now, ever shall be, world without end, amen. We have to change the way we look at things.
Absolutely.
Insurance is very important. Insurance is there to protect you, and we can demonstrate that and to give you a peace of mind as you are doing your business and when you're in your homestead, during your retirement, etc. So we've got several classes of fire products. I can call them fire products. I mentioned the issue of fire standard. We also mentioned fire industrial. You mentioned domestic package, industrial or risks, which he has just mentioned. All those are, but it depends on the sum insured anyway, because now when it comes to different levels of income, for you maybe your house is, I don't know how much it is, but sorry. If on average it is 200 million or 300 million, because the average household, value of a household in Kampala here is around 300 million. You can insure that. For fire standard only. Let's say you're not exposed to flooding and so on, and aircraft damage, the planes normally don't pass over your house, so you say, let me just go for fire alone, because that's a big risk. My children are now staying at home, they are using candles, they are using electrical appliances, anything can happen. So with that, you just get the 0.15%, multiply times the 300 million, and you see the figure which comes out. It's a very minimal figure that can be afforded. Look at it on a monthly basis, look at it on a daily basis. I try to compute, and the figure comes to like, I think 700 shillings per day. That's what you need for insurance to cover fire. And if your house is, for instance, 10 billion, 20 billion, that means that now the sum insured increases, the exposure increases, and you'll have to pay more premium. So it's still the same class, but variation in the amount of money that you pay because of the exposure that you have.
Peter, from your experience, why do you think our public is, kind of reluctant when it comes to insuring against fire?
I think, as you've said, the attitude. People have this attitude that insurance is for the rich, insurance is a wastage of money, insurance, ideally it doesn't work. And people also think insurance companies don't want to pay claims. They don't pay claims, they want your money, and at the end of the day, when you suffer loss, they start asking you questions here and there. But I would like to tell you that that perception should change, or it must change. And also the other thing also, I think, provide experience. Fire seemed to be a remote risk those days. However, the goalpost has changed. Those days, seeing where fire has happened used to be something which is not that usual. But then the challenge with it is that the severity of fire. When fire gets a place, it will burn it to zero. So at the end of the day, the frequency may be low, the number of occurrences may be very low, but the severity is very high. You imagine now that building we are talking about, the Makerere University building, it has taken years without this happening, but it has happened once, and just taken us back to zero. Now, we are talking about people saying the building is around 15 million. It is estimated to be at 15 billions. Now, 15 billions, if you apply a premium rate, it would give you a premium of around 20 millions per year. Now, if you have to pay 20 millions per year, it would mean that if you get 15 billions divided by 20, you do get around 800 or 500 something, meaning 500 years or 800 years. You imagine you would pay 20 millions for 800 years in order for you to get 15 billions, right? Now, you tell me, this building, for how long has it been there? Yeah, it has been there, I believe, for less than 800 billions. But you are going now to incur cost in restating this building or reconstructing this building, something not less than 15 billion. Now, if we are to estimate 15 billion, that was those days when the building was constructed. But right now, you'll agree with me, construction materials the prices have increased, a lot of things have happened. So we can't estimate anything less than 20 billions to raise that same building. Now, if this person had insured, or if the university had insured this property, right now they would be relaxed and insurance would be taking on. So that attitude should change, because people used to think insurance, they don't pay, they don't do that, and maybe the fire, it is too remote. But as my colleague explained, the fire has been expanded to cover other perils like floods, excessive floods, things like damage, impact damages. Now, if you take on the policy and you only focusing on one thing, fire, then the other one will happen. So the most important thing is the public should understand insurance. and how it works. Before you buy insurance, you need to understand, what am I buying? What are my exposures? Then you tell the insurance companies, I anticipate this, A, B, C, D, they are my worries. So insurance company will give you a policy which protects you against those challenges. So in my experience, fire, why people have not been taking it is because of its uniqueness. The frequency is very low, but the severity is very high. And we only open up our eyes when we are faced with a challenge like now, what we have now. The petrol station you talked about, the buildings which have been collapsing around. And even other people, they are those silent ones. In people's homes, people's houses have been burning, but since they are small, they are not captured, or it is not being reported in the media. But people are suffering from this thing, and massive. That one is an institution, but imagine an individual like you, assuming your building is 200 million and it gets fire, everything will be destroyed. Getting back to that position, it will take you some years. Now imagine you've been paying a premium, assuming your building, say it is 200 million, meaning you'd be paying 200,000, 250,000 per year in insurance. And how many years would you save that 200,000, 250 to re-erect the same building? It is approximately 500 years. Would you live for 500 years? No, your grandchildren would have lived in the building. So the public should take on insurance seriously to avoid this kind of burden and running up and down after being faced with a challenge.
Thank you. Apart from insuring against fire, the question is, what else can, for example, a building be insured against? Throw more light on that.
Yeah, thank you, Mordecai. For instance, you are building here. As we came in, there's some construction work going on. There's a lot of debris that's falling. Assuming one of the debris fell onto my head, that is a public liability that you have towards people who are coming into this building. So public liability definitely is very, very important for a building, because anything can happen. Because now we have these tiles, which I don't know whether they come from China or where, which are very smooth. You come and slide in a building and you hit your head down. You remember there was an MD who died in, I think, Centenary Bank? But I think it was not about the slides. It could have been something else. So you lose your life. So you, as the owner of the building, you are supposed to protect the public, those who come to your building, and ensure that they are safe. And if you don't protect them, then of course you end up with those litigation costs. So public liability comes in handy to help you in this kind of instance. Then there is also plate glass. I believe all of you have seen Communication Commission. They are those glasses which are facing the road. Anything can happen. A flying stone can hit the glass and then it gets broken. That's also covered. There is a separate class of business for plate glass. Then, of course, I mentioned the issue of special perils. Here, I think you are talking about fire standard alone, but you can extend the fire standard to cover also special perils, the malicious damage, the riot, strike, and civil commotion. For instance, here in NBS, if you people strike because of low pay, here you are talking about low pay, journalists are paid very little.
Not at NBS TV.
So anything can happen. I listened to that in Akalakat. It's in Akalakat or something. Yeah, so
but not at NBS. Yeah. I can assure you.
Yes. So if there's any riot or strike or civil commotion, and of course, when there's riot and strikes, so many things happen. That's still covered under the fire and special perils policy. You get what I'm talking about. Then we have machinery breakdown. These lifts, which are in these big buildings, sometimes they break down. And there's a need to have a special class of business for them for machinery breakdown. Those are the ones that I can think about for the moment.
Well, do insurance companies pay claims? I mean, from your position, there are a couple of people, a section of the public, which thinks that the claims process is cumbersome and discouraging, which makes a couple of people reluctant, to put in their claims and end up many people talking about all the bad things about insurance.
Thank you very much for that question. In fact, that is one of the most important questions one should ask whenever you're discussing insurance, because claim is the very reason to why insurance companies exist. Without claims, I don't think insurance companies would exist. But that being the reason, the public is right to have their own perception because of the experience they have gone through. I will agree with you. I've also heard that, and I've also seen people complain and say that insurance companies don't pay. But I'd like to affirm to you that maybe that used to happen those days, but the goalpost has changed. It is now the other way around. Insurance companies now look for all the possible reasons to pay claims because one, competition is now very stiff between them, and clients are now getting informed. If one company doesn't pay your claim now, you have the right to transfer your policy next year. And who would want to lose the business? No one. So lately, insurance companies are looking for all the possible ways, all the possible reasons to pay genuine claims to the insured or to the insured or the victim. Now, the authority has also established a complaint bureau whereby we handle complaints from the public. If you insure your property, you suffer loss, and the insurance company fail to pay you, or you fail to agree on several things, including the quantum. Maybe you've insured your property, say maybe vehicle, the value is 20 million and it is a write-off, and this person wants to give you 10. You don't understand why the person is giving you 10. You have a right to walk into IRA, Insurance Regulatory Authority, then you explain to us your issues and we address it. Because we are experts, we understand these things. So when you come to us, we represent you, we help you, we are like the judge. We listen to both sides and weigh who is on the wrong and who is right. And insurance companies don't want to come to us because if you don't pay people's claims, we have no reason to allow you to continue operating. We can withdraw your license, and that is something which the investor would not want to go into. So the perception should change. Insurance companies nowadays look for all the possible reasons to pay claims. But the other thing also, in my experience, what I've realized is that the public or most clients do not understand the product or the insurance they have bought. You find that you've bought something and you just go and ask for insurance policy without explaining to the insurer what you want. And at the end of the day, they'll give you something which they deem fit, and yet your risk is totally different. Then the other challenge we also faced, which I think caused this, or something which raised this alarm, it used to be third-party insurance. We used to have a lot of fraudulent issues whereby people buy fake stickers in the market. Well, we are supposed to control the market, but at times some people will go beyond you and they do their dubious businesses. So at the end of the day, they sell to you fake stickers. When you suffer a loss, you go to an insurance company, which they portrayed or purported to have been representing, and the insurance company tells you, I don't have this policy in my system. At the end of the day, for you, you know it is this insurance company. So you blame that insurance company, you alarm and say this company does not pay. However, the good news is the authority has come up with a solution to this. Effective July this year, we launched a system whereby all third-party insurances are supposed to be purchased using a system which is monitored by the industry and us, the authority. So there's no way, if you purchase your sticker or you purchase your insurance using this system, there's no way how tomorrow I'll wake up and tell you, you know what, this sticker is fake, or you don't have insurance. No, because we would be having your data and everything will be there. The only thing would be paying you your claim and we move on. So we've simplified the system and everything is working out. Although the challenge of fraud also, the authority has a full department called a full unit, anti-fraud unit, to investigate the fraud in the market. If you bring fraudulent claims, we help the insurance company to interrogate and find out the truth. If the anti-fraud unit establishes that indeed the claim is genuine, then we shall force insurance company to pay you. In fact, not forcing, but just advise them that, you know what, basing on this report, please proceed and sort out this.
Wonderful. We've run out of time, but I'll start with you with one thing that you can't leave unmentioned in your concluding remark.
In my conclusion remark, I want to send a message to the public that insurance counts. Insurance is very important. Don't let all your efforts that you have spent in your working life get wasted in a twinkle of an eye by just some peril. It's time for us to do things differently. It's time for us to change the way we look at things so that we can improve. If we keep on doing the same things over and over, then we are not going to achieve our goals. And we shall remain in the vicious circle of poverty and become a social burden and a laughing stock of the other economies. So the public needs to embrace insurance. We have a complaints bureau because that's where the concern normally is, that insurers don't pay. We have a complaints bureau, he's mentioned it. We have a website. In that website, we have a window for lodging your complaints. You might be in Moroto, you might be in Kasese where you find it difficult to come to Kampala, but you can lodge your complaint through that window. You can even ring us, and then we take this up with the insurance company and we find out really what's happening.
What's the number?
I'll share with you shortly. But then also, I also want to assure the public that we do regularly carry out on-site inspections and really find out what these people are doing on the ground. How are they settling claims? We've given them claim settlement guidelines, which they're supposed to follow. From the time when a discharge voucher is raised or a claim is approved for payment, it should not take more than, say, like 5 days within which money is paid out. Now, if we find some of them are not doing that, and definitely they face very serious punitive action from the regulator. So we have been following this to the dot, and we shall continue doing that in the foreseeable future. Thank you.
Thank you. In 20 seconds only. Yes, your concluding remark.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like to urge the public to consider insurance as fundamental as possible. Just look at a vehicle before you step into the accelerator. You must make sure that there is fuel. The same thing should be with insurance. Before you think of investing your money into something, make sure you have insurance, because you never know what is going to happen next. Be it farming, be it your assets, make sure you buy insurance. Even in farming, there is agriculture insurance. Climate has become unpredictable, and you don't want to lose your investment just in a flash.
Yeah, thank you so much, Peter and Bernard, and you raised a very important one. We can do the same things the same way and expect different results. That would be an explanation or define ourselves as insane. We just cannot go beyond this. I am Mordecai Mlisa. It is the end of the breakfast meeting today. Until we catch up again, good morning.